Jaylen Brown has one of the highest potentials in this NBA draft, but will he ever realize it? You're watching James Carter TV.
Looking like a trouble when I walked in the building. That mean I got something expensive. Know my friends, they killing. All these hoes I'm killing.
Hello and welcome to James Carter TV. It's time for a scouting report on California small forward Jaylen Brown, a guy that was pretty highly touted coming out of high school, and we're gonna see today whether or not he can live up to the potential that he clearly has in the NBA and how I have him ranked as opposed to his peers and counterparts in this NBA draft. We're going to talk about his strengths, his weaknesses. I'll give you a pro comparison of 5-year projections, his best fits, and I'll end with my overall grade on Jaylen Brown. Let's start with his strengths. Let's start on his positive notes, and there's a good amount of them. Number one, he's a tremendous athlete. This guy can jump out of the gym. They record his vertical at the combine. I'm sure it would have been at least 39, probably 40, probably above even that, because this guy has some major hops. And this was such a sight to see, because up to this point, with the guys I've been looking at, like Ben Simmons, yes, he's athletic, but only for a 6'10 guy, not in terms of just raw athleticism compared to point guards or shooting guards. No, they have higher verticals than them. He's not athletic in terms of those guys, and he can't match up against those guys. This is the guy that can. I mean, I think thus far of all the guys I've done scouting reports on, by far the most athletic of all of them. Vertically, nice to finally see on film a guy leaping out of the gym, coming back down, and throwing it down through the rim. Big upside there just from that alone, and that's nice to see. And then you add in the potential to get extra blocks, and in terms of also getting rebounds. Nice to have that verticality, more so in the NBA than any other sport, unless we're playing wide receiver in the NFL. We move on to his next strength. The guy draws fouls. He charges in the lane, he uses that verticality, and he draws shooting fouls on a consistent basis. And it's nice to know that this is a guy that can come in and get free throw attempts consistently per game, even on nights when he's not shooting well, and there will be a lot of them, and we'll get into that in a moment. You know he can drive in the lane, draw a foul, get to the free throw line, and get you some points. Problem, he's not a great free throw shooter, and we're going to get into that. But it's just nice knowing, to me, there's a lot of value in that. I mean, you go look at the guys in the NBA that attempt the most free throws. I mean, outside of Andre Drummond and all those hack-a-shack guys, it's guys of tremendous value. LeBron, D-Wade, Chris Paul, Steph Curry, guys that you know, they go to the free throw line because they have such an impact on the game. They get free points, easy points. It's nice to have in the NBA. Trust me of that. Next strength, defense. He's a good defender right now with the potential to be a great defender. Long wingspan for his height. I said he was 6'6" in the description box. Really, I'm being generous. He is 6'5" without shoes. With shoes, he's 6'6", and I'll say he's 6'6" because he'll be wearing shoes. He'll be wearing them. So fine. He's 6'6", and you know, a guy with a good wingspan, about a 6'11" wingspan for that height. So he has nice length and that athleticism that I talked about, the explosiveness. In terms of lateral movements, I just talked about Jamal Murray in my last scouting report, a guy who really struggles with those lateral movements, keeping in front of quick guards. This guy has no problem with that. He knows how to keep up with the faster guards because he's fast himself. Great potential on defense, has some mental lapses. And the big thing is he also has some fouls. We're going to get into those weaknesses, but we're still in the strengths category, so I'll keep it lighthearted for now. A lot of potential defensively. And last is his upside. Tremendous upside, again, because of his tremendous athleticism, because you already see the defensive tools, the offensive tools in terms of driving to the basket. A lot of upside just because of the pure athleticism that comes with Jaylen Brown. So a lot of strengths, but boy, there are some weaknesses, and they hurt a lot. I was watching the film, and I was like, Man, I really want Jaylen Brown to be great. I had a certain grade on him, but then I was just like, no, 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 no. Because so many problems just kept coming up, and I just had to keep bringing that grade down because even though I wanted to really love this guy, I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Let's talk about his weaknesses. He's a bad shooter. He just is. He's bad. Okay, 29% from three this year. And in terms of mid-range two-pointers, bad. He tried to do some pull-up jumpers, mid-range jumpers, was inefficient to say the least for those. And when you're talking about a guy being drafted in the top 5, potentially, you need to be a good shooter in the NBA nowadays. Now, the only thing is here, right? We've seen plenty of guys. I'm going to give you a pro comparison later. We've seen plenty of guys going to the NBA, being bad shooters in college, being bad shooters in the NBA, and getting away with it. He's going to have to be one of those guys, but for right now, he's just a bad shooter. His mechanics are poor. A lot of shots are errant. They go low, and they just go left and right, man. Mike Breen on commentary, how he always likes to say, way off. Whenever a lot of three-point attempts are just, they're off. But he's very critical, way off. You're going to hear a lot of that whenever he's commentating on Jaylen Brown games because when he's shooting threes, a lot of them, yikes. And I mean, they're bad. And in high school, he was better, but in high school, the high school three to the college three, he struggled with that transition. Now from the college three to the NBA three, man, I don't like that idea at all. All right, so then we move on. Turnover prone. Yikes. I mean, this guy had 3.1 turnovers per game, and he only played 28 minutes, 29 minutes per game. So you extrapolate that per 40, 4.5 turnovers per 40 minutes. Bad, 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 bad. He has a bad feel of the game, bad court vision, way more turnovers than assists at this point in his career. A liability offensively when he's not driving. When he gets the ball, he's going to have to drive because when he tries to drive and kick, nothing good happens a lot of the time. Just doesn't see the court well right now. Needs to develop that trait seriously bad because you can't put him on a playoff team right now. He's going to have issues and struggles because when it's time to pass the ball, like put him on the Warriors, he's screwed because when it's time to pass the ball, he's not very good right now at all. Very turnover prone. Very turnover prone. We move on. Disappointing free throw percentage. I talked about how he draws shooting fouls. That's great. But you have to make your free throws. Okay, you're at the free throw line. Wonderful. You get there 9 times a game. Great. Got to make your free throws. 65% from free throw percentage. Bad. I mean, that puts you near the hack-a-shack category. So it isn't even a good thing at this point that you're drawing shooting fouls? I don't know, because you're only shooting 65%. That puts you in danger of being prone to the hack-a-shack. Now, I think he's going to improve because I don't think he's that bad. I think this number has to improve. He can't be this bad as a shooting guard, as a wing player, shooting guard, small forward, wing player. No way can he be that bad, but he is. He had 65% from free throw, and that's just a number that just frightens the hell out of me. And then lastly, way too many fouls. I talked about how he's a good defender right now, and he is, but what's stopping him from being a great defender is he gets too handsy. Tries to steal the ball way too much, tries to, just really undisciplined defensively right now. Instead of going for blocks, just going for people's arms and wrists and hands and, not getting the ball enough for me. Only averaged 0.8. I think 0.8 steals and 0.6 blocks or, the other way around. I remember those numbers though very vividly. So, even though I say he's a good defender, and he is, he's not great, and I wonder if he's ever really going to be able to fix these things. So let's talk about my best fits first. Okay, so Phoenix Suns, they need a guy like this somewhat, because I think it's very similar to PJ Tucker and who they already have there. So I question the fit. Phoenix just needs to take somebody, though, to be honest with you. So it's really him or Dragan Bender. I guess Bender would be a better fit, although I'm not a big Bender fan, and I'll get into him soon. I guarantee you of that. but he's a good fit. All right, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves. A lot of people aren't talking about this. I want to start the conversation. All right, Andrew Wiggins, a guy that can play the two. I mean, you could put him at the two. Yes, he's 6'8". You could put him at the two. You could put him at the three, or Jaylen Brown at the two, the three, and exchange those guys defensively. You have two really good wing defenders right there. I think you can move around and do something with. I really think they should explore this possibility. Timberwolves were horrible defensively last season. Now you have Wiggins, potentially Jaylen Brown, and Karl-Anthony Towns all playing defense for you. You get Ricky Rubio out of there, hopefully, or maybe Ricky Rubio actually improves defensively, and you're actually talking about having a good defensive team are the Minnesota Timberwolves for Tom Thibodeau. And this is a Tom Thibodeau type guy because he's similar to Jimmy Butler. Now, he's nowhere near the shooter Jimmy Butler was coming out of college. That's a big problem. But he's similar in terms of the defensive aspects. So I think Tom Thibodeau could really learn to love Jaylen Brown and could go after Jaylen Brown. And I like the fit there. We move on to the New Orleans Pelicans. Another team sorely needing defense. They've had Eric Gordon out there playing horrible defense. I mean, god-awful, horrible defense. They didn't have this year, but the year before that, they had Al-Farouq Aminu starting at small forward. He wasn't very good. Tyreke Evans also struggling defensively. This is an actual wing defender that they can bring in, and he can actually perform for them defensively. Allow him to grow over time. Remember, the combination of Anthony Davis and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist in college won Kentucky a championship. This one could win the Pelicans a playoff berth. And then Sacramento Kings, another fit, horrible defensive team, a consistent theme throughout my best fits for him. Another possibility to go in there, be on the wing, be a wing defender, something that they sorely need. Pro comparison. I want to go there first before I give you my 5-year projection. So there's a guy that can't shoot. He's getting better shooting from three. He's playing in the NBA right now. Guy that shot under 10% from three his second year in the league. His name is DeMar DeRozan. Guy shot 5 of 52 from three his second year in the league. Progressed every year. Now he's shooting 33%. Still not a very good shooter, but what does he do? He gets to the foul line, gets free throws, gets dunks, pretty good dunker, really good dunker actually, gets to the rim and finishes. That's your best case scenario. And that's a damn good scenario because DeMar DeRozan averaged, 20.8 points per game this season? It doesn't show up in the playoffs because at the end of the day, teams can defend that. But hey, a good player. That's the upside here. Other comparisons, Stanley Johnson. I liked Stanley Johnson last year. I gave him overall grade of 77, probably like 77, 78. Actually, no. He was in the 80s. Yeah, I had him, I believe, at 80. I like Stanley Johnson more. I think he has a better shot at this point than Jaylen Brown, and I think you're going to see similar rookie seasons. I think, Stanley Johnson didn't really perform that much, but he performed better later on in the stretch in the playoffs and whatnot. So I think that's where you're going to look at for Jaylen Brown. Now let me give you my 5-year projection for this guy. Again, my 5-year projections are team dependent. It depends on where he goes. If he goes somewhere where they require his talents every single day, he's going to average, I don't know if he's ever going to average 20. I don't know if he's ever just going to be a good enough shooter for that, but let's say 19. If he doesn't go somewhere, he goes somewhere where he just needs to be a defender, nothing more. He averaged probably 12. I went with 16. I like that projection. It puts him this year, if he averaged 16, he'd be about 10th for shooting guards in points per game. I think that's about where he is. Again, it's team dependent. So 16 points, 6 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 49% field goal percentage, which is pretty good, but 32% 3-point. And I think I'm being pretty generous because this is an upgrade from college. Again, this is 5 years down the road, pretty much the peak of his career. And I can see these numbers. I can see higher, not much higher, and not much lower. I feel good about this projection. And let me give you my overall grade on him. So I have the 80 to 84 range that is set out for above average starters in the NBA. I also have the 70 75 to 79, which is set out for average starters or really good bench players. And that's where I'm putting him. He may actually be a starter in a pretty good one. So he's a borderline above average starter, but I can't put him in that category because that category is also reserved for people that have a chance to make an all-star. And I really don't see that chance. I think he has a better chance of being a bench player than an all-star. So that puts you in that average starter range. I give him a final grade of 78. Not bad. I mean, this is a starter that you can draft, or a really good bench player that you can draft right now, and he's probably gonna have to develop. I think he's gonna have to be a bench warmer your first year. I mean, I'd be surprised if he averaged, like, let's say more than 8 points his first year. But, you know, over time, 5 years down the road, I think he's gonna be a good starter for you. But temper the expectations. I mean, the upside's high. I mean, if he can hit his upside, I mean, you're talking about a guy that, yes, could be an all-star, but, man, I just don't see it. I think the shooting, it's too bad. And I don't see how it's going to improve, because if you're talking about his shooting improvement, you can talk about anyone's shooting improvement, and then what are we talking about? We're just optimistic for everybody's sake. You know, I think there are some problems with his game. Turnover prone, fouls, free throw, bad shooting. At first, I told you, I had him at a prospect grade of 83. When I first looked at his highlights and everything. Then when I really went into the film and I saw his lowlights, it went down, 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 down. This puts him 5th of my prospect grades right now, behind Brandon Ingram, Ben Simmons, Jamal Murray, and Buddy Hield. I haven't done Dragan Bender or Chris Dunn, so he probably is going to end up, I think, probably about 6 or 7. So look out for that. Keep following these scouting reports, that way you remain updated on that. So there you go. My scouting report on Jaylen Brown. What do you think about Jaylen Brown? Comment down below. And until next time, James Carter TV, I'm out. Peace.